We're glad you're all here. I heard, there's a whole video I forgot about. Well, let's try that again. Woo! Getting off to a great start, huh? I was too distracted by the conversation between Christian and Eric plotting their Miss Serenity drag pageant looks over here. I'm ready to see the showdown of the century between these two competitive ladies. But anyways, let's try that again. Welcome to Free Recovery Community. Free is a community of addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. We are not a traditional 12-step program, although most of our members do engage in 12-step at various levels. That is most certainly not a requirement to be here. So excited to see each and every one of you. We come here every Friday or every Saturday night at 7. We start gathering at 6:30 for conversation and connection because this is a community. So super excited that everyone is here tonight.
I was like,
and welcome Don, his first time helping us tonight.
all right, at Free Recovery, there's something that we do not do, and that is we don't do shame. So I want you guys to say it with me. We don't do shame.
A couple of quick announcements before we get everything else going tonight. The first one is connect or volunteer. So volunteer with us. It takes a number of people. It's a great night. It takes a number of people to get everything set up and running. We also have spots for people to help Ryan run the AV, social media management. Linux is helping us do some outreach work to various people in the community. So it really does take a whole community to get this show together and create space every week for people to come for connection. You just talk to me, or if you really want to scan that QR code, you can do that too. There's Connect. That's you.
All right. If you want to connect with us, you can fill out a card at the connections table right over here.
There.
And then you'll get some free, where?
Back there.
Over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, they moved it. And then you can receive some free merch also.
Yeah.
And then if you want to go to coffee? Is that the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to go to coffee, Pastor Seth will take you to coffee.
Yeah. Just put your phone number in the little notes column. We have a bowling team for the Chicago Roundup Charity Bowling League. There's like probably 4 spots left in it. Ed is heading that up. So it supports a local recovery conference. And so I say this every week because it's the only thing Justin can beat me at. Cards, board games, any of that, Justin never wins. But if you want to see me lose to Justin at something, come to bowling. Justin's my boyfriend, for anyone who didn't know.
All right, calm down. So tonight's, is that today? Yeah, tonight's theme is not what we expected when life turns out differently than we imagined.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah, that's it.
Come back next week. Spoiler alert, we're talking Easter and resurrection, so we're going to talk about how resurrection rarely leads to what we expected. So, yeah. Now it's the time for our celebration. So Don here will pass around the microphone. A little bit about the flow of the night. First, we're going to do celebrations. We'll just take a few minutes to celebrate together all the good things that are happening in life. Then we'll do probably a 10, 12-minute recovery-related message that's rooted in spiritual wisdom, followed by a brief time for meditation through the duration of a song. And then we will invite our guest storyteller up, who's Matthew. Let's hear it for Matthew. I was talking to him before, and I was like, Matthew's the kind of guy who normally holds his cards a little close to his chest, right? So I imagine the story might be something that none of us know. I was at his Sober House graduation this week, and I learned all kinds of things about Matthew that I didn't know. And so tonight we'll all be getting to hear Matthew's story. After that, we'll do heartbreaks, which is just those things that are a little too heavy to carry on your own. After all, we are a community, right? So we're here for each other, and that's your way of inviting everyone else to be here for you as well. And then we'll do a quick little prayer and head out. So now, Dawn, we'll pass around the microphone for celebrations. Also, for those of us joining online or from a Sober House, just reach out to your Sober House case aide, and they'll be sending in celebrations and heartbreaks, and we'd really love to hear from you.
Matthew, alcoholic. Yesterday was 20 months sober.
Woo!
Hey everyone, I'm George. This is my first time at a free meeting, and I am 66 days sober today.
Christian, I finally, after many years, am enrolled in school for the fall. So.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm alcoholic. Is this on? Hi. I just started working on steps again because I stopped at step 2 like over a year ago, and I'm really excited about it.
Woo!
Hi, I'm Martha, and I'm the loved one of an addict, and I'm just very happy to be here tonight because I was gone for a couple of weeks, and I really, really miss when I can't be here and see all of you and meet new people on Saturday night. So I'm just happy.
Hi, I'm Pete. I'm an alcoholic. I work at a homeless shelter, and this past week, I was finally able to launch AA meetings at the shelter, hosted by somebody who has been in the program for 20 years and knew how to work with homeless, drug addicts, and alcoholics perfectly, and it's exactly what that community needed, was to bring meetings into the shelter, because it's so hard to get guys in a shelter to walk to meetings. So let's hope it turns out to be a little mini success story.
Perfect. Woo.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm an addict. I just want to say that my plants in my apartment are really thriving. They're in the past, I would just prevent them from dying, but now they're thriving. Like, I'm seeing new leaves and stuff. Really exciting. Thank you.
Add Plant Daddy to the list, eh?
Hi, I'm Eric again. And I forgot to mention, I think I found a new congregation to worship, and I'm really excited about that. I just went for the first time last night, and it was the best service I've seen in a while.
Woo.
Hi, everybody. My name's Ed, and I'm excited to hopefully start my new job soon at the Whole Foods at One Chicago and State. I've just been waiting a week for my background check, so looking forward to that, hopefully in a few days starting.
Woo.
Hey everybody, I'm Aliyah.
Aliyah.
I just want to celebrate getting out of the house today because I noticed on like my log sheet I only went out like 4 days ago, and that was like the only time this week. So yeah, just excited and happy to get out again. I know that it's not winter anymore, but you know I'm still kind of getting over that hump. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Hey, I'm Robert. It's my first time here, and I'm excited to try something new. So, thanks.
Hi, Lennox. I just realized yesterday I made 10 months. Thanks. Thanks. But in addition to that, like I'm officially applied to some law schools, so I'm like really into running for a law school.
In other news, I'll be praying that Lennox gets into UChicago instead of UCLA, because that's a little far away, right? So as you saw in the opening announcements, we're currently going through a series called Not What We Expected. Because truth be told, in recovery, I think we all have these like structures and systems built on the way we think things are going to go or how things are going to be. Last week, we talked about expectations and how they can set us up for premeditated resentments. And this week, we're talking about acceptance. So truth be told, we all kind of have a script in our head about the way things should be. Some of those things are as simple and as little as like, I would really love it if my dog would start pooping outside. I mean, she's 7 months old and it's getting a little out of hand. Some things could be a lot bigger than that, right? They could be maybe that job that we thought we were gonna get, or maybe they could be that relationship that we thought was gonna unfold, or all of these different ways that life can pan out as we have imagined or we have dreamed. And when we create these expectations or these ideas of the way things are supposed to be, and then we meet a reality where things are different, we often experience a pretty big gap between those two. And with these expectations where we're thinking that life needs to be a different way and there's this gap, we end up developing these fears and these feelings because we're still living in the way we thought they should be. And if we don't accept the way things actually are, it actually makes it quite hard for us to move into what actually exists. So that's what we're talking about tonight. Because if we keep living in the way we think they should be instead of the way things really are, we're living in a gap of pain. So there was this old timer at this meeting that I used to go to, and anyone who's been to meetings with old timers know that sometimes they can be a little bit of a broken record, right? And he would say every single week, he would say, naming a problem, you're halfway to fixing it. So just by recognizing, Joe likes that phrase, just by recognizing and existing in that problem, you're already well on your way to evaluating the reality behind it so that you can work with real tools and not imagined tools. That's really all that acceptance is. It's setting aside the way we think things should be and accepting the way things actually are. Because we all have ideas of the way things should be. I think politics is based on the idea that we have ideas on the way things should be. And page 417 of the big book says something about acceptance, right? Anyone in the room know what it says? Oh, it's behind me. You gotta cheat. You gotta cheat. Page 417 says acceptance is the answer to all my problems. And that seems pretty bold, right? All of my problems. How is acceptance going to clear that bankruptcy, or maybe remove that felony, or help me get that dream job, or maybe that hot, perfect boyfriend? How is acceptance going to be the answer of all of my problems today? And probably if you ask any of your friends outside of the rooms of recovery, like what's one thing that happens in a 12-step meeting? They would probably spout off the serenity prayer, right? And the serenity prayer actually starts with acceptance. Acceptance. I want oh my God, did I just forget the serenity prayer? God, give me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And so the baseline of the serenity prayer, which many people would say is at the core of recovery, is acceptance. And if you notice the order of things, it doesn't say, God, give me the courage to change everything I can, and then give me the acceptance for what's left over, and maybe some wisdom to be okay with it. In order to move into the courage for the things that we want to change, we first have to accept the things we can't. Because if we don't have peace, we don't have a clear head to go and have courage for those things we can't. And truth be told, we can't change things. We can't, no matter how much courage we have, we can't change things that we don't have the ability to accept. And many people in this room right now know a little bit about that. No one got sober after their wife told them for the very first time, honey, maybe you should have less beers with dinner. Right? We struggled to accept things. The first step is all about acceptance, right? Before we can move into any path of recovery. And honestly, if you're one of our loved ones or our spiritual refugees that are here tonight, you can't move into any path that provides peace and stability or serenity unless you first accept things for the way they are. I know there's people who've, the stages of grief, right? What's the first in the stage of grief? Well, yeah. What's the first? Joe's first in anything is anger. But we can't change what we refuse to accept. And let's be clear about something about acceptance. Acceptance is not resignation. Resignation is giving up. Resignation is just defaulting to the way it is. Acceptance is just honesty. Acceptance is honesty about the way things are in the world around us. And does anyone know who the Apostle Paul is in the New Testament? The Apostle Paul was someone who had to learn a lot about acceptance. The Apostle Paul was this guy who originally started off as like the young, up-and-coming Pharisee, right? He was mentored under someone who was well-known and well-established. And by the time we get to Paul in Philippians, he spent the past several years as a nomad, and he's actually in prison. And Paul in Philippians, actually, he says, "For I have learned to be content in any circumstance. I know the experience of being in need and having more than enough. I have learned the secret of being content in any circumstances," right? He's writing this from prison. "Whether full or hungry, whether having plenty or being poor, I can endure all things through the power of the one who gives me strength." So here's a man that's sitting in prison. Anyone in the room been in prison, or am I the only one? Okay, me and Sincere, I got you, Sincere. It's really hard to accept things when you're in prison. And it's even harder to say something as bold as "I have learned to be content in any circumstance." The only people I met that were content in prison had been there 12 times, right? And probably had tobacco. But I didn't write that one. Imagine, he's been hungry, he's had plenty, he's had nothing, he's had everything, and the only secret to being content, or the only secret to having peace, is being content in any circumstance. I'll tell you something about me in prison. I was not content. I was sitting around counting days. I was in the law library reading every book, trying to find some loophole. I got caught with a shit ton of drugs on me, okay? There wasn't a loophole. There was no loophole that was going to get me out of prison. But I refused to accept the way things were. I refused to accept that I was there. I refused to accept that I wasn't getting out the next day. I struggled, and I clawed, and I tried my hardest for anything to happen but where I was at. Let me tell you something, the state of Oklahoma did not accept that. Because at that point in life, I had been Paul to some degree, right? But I hadn't found a transformative spiritual experience like Paul had at this point, right? I'd been a CPA working in a big accounting firm and making a bunch of money. I've had plenty, right? I'd been a street dealer who had nothing and was just scraping by to get my stuff together. And at that point in time, I had no way to have contentment. And you know where sometimes the hardest place to have contentment is? It's not when you're hungry, it's when you have plenty. For me, the times where I wanted the most, where I craved for more than any other time in my life, was when times were going well. I had this job. If I made $100,000, I wanted to make 120, right? If I had the hottest guy in the room interested in me, I wanted the hottest guy in town interested in me. Right? Nothing would satisfy me because I had a basic lack of contentment. But there's been times, you hear about it all the time, whenever I was first sober and I had zero money, but we were playing volleyball at the same volleyball court every night and going to Steak and Shake after, and I could get an order of fries. I had nothing, and I was happier than I'll ever be. Right? Hopefully. Well, hopefully that's not a past tense thing. But anyways, there are times the contentment we have, the acceptance we have, the places we can go is not dependent on our outside material situation. There's a line in a family afterwards, and I'm paraphrasing, but it says when we put our spiritual development first, our material will follow. Me and Eric were at an AA meeting this morning, and a lady talked about what spirituality meant to her, and I'm probably going to misquote her, so you can check me afterwards. But she said spirituality was just having a positive outlook and being connected to others. She said that's all that spirituality is. Everything else about spirituality, and she talked to God and higher power almost the whole time. Because she relies on her higher power, she relies on God, and I'm pretty sure she was a Christian woman, judging by the he, him she was using to describe God. But that happiness and contentment, that positive outlook on life, was her definition of spirituality. Because my definition of spirituality is whenever I'm completely connected with the universe and those around me. And the lack of spirituality is whenever I'm completely disconnected. And whenever I have that negative outlook, I'm probably pretty completely disconnected. So here in Philippians, while Paul is sitting in prison, he's actually telling us that you can be happy and content anywhere. We're never going to find it. And we've all heard of if-then happiness, right? If I get the job, then I'll be happy, right? If I get rid of this court case, then I'll be happy. If I get the boy, then I'll be happy. If I get into my #1 law school, then I'll be happy, right? And I think it's part of the way capitalism has eroded the very fiber of our soul, because we don't need any of that to be happy. Because acceptance doesn't fix the circumstances around us. It fixes what's inside of us. And now, I can be pretty content without having much. But the thing about contentment is you never actually find it forever. Because the world, and when we're marketed to as heavy as we are, it's really hard to find contentment, right? Gosh, all winter I thought, man, how happy would I be if I just walked around in a Canada Goose coat? Because contentment takes work. Being happy and accepting where we're at takes work. It takes work to constantly push back on those messages that tell us that we need other things in order to be okay in a society that wants to sell us things in order to be okay. So how do we achieve this? How do we get it? Because contentment clearly isn't an on and off switch. I can wake up every morning and try my hardest to be content, but I'll tell you, the second that little shit upstairs poops on my floor, I'm not. So how do we learn to be content? If you listen to the first part of the message, you can probably pick up on one thing. We can tell the truth about the reality we're in. If I've applied for whenever I first got sober, I definitely remember, I used to be a CPA and worked for Ernst & Young, and I applied for a job at a bookkeeper of a 5-chain restaurant, and they told me no. Anyone know that feeling? It's not fun. The reality was I was unemployable at that level. I had to accept the reality of where I was at. That person that I am just in love with, Justin, I'm speaking in hypothetical, that person that I'm just in love with that won't give me time of day, I have to accept the reality that maybe they're not the one. The first thing to do to find contentment, to find that peace, to find acceptance of the way things really are, is to accept the reality of where we're at. If we can't put more than 2 weeks together, maybe we shouldn't plan for 2 years from now and speak as if we know everything in recovery meetings, right? Maybe we should accept that we're at the beginning of our recovery journey, because that's a beautiful place to be. The next thing we do is we need to look for where we actually have agency. Because so often when we're in a world where it's hard to accept, we feel like we're powerless. And I know powerlessness isn't the first step. Powerlessness is the basis of everything that we do in recovery. But we might not have power, but we still have agency. Whenever I was applying for all those jobs in early sobriety and getting no's and no's and no's, I still had the power to apply for a job that would hire me, and that's why I sold timeshares for Hilton Grand Vacations for a year. I had agency over what I did with my time and how I did it, right? I have agency. There's things that I do have power over. And it's a lot easier to accept a world when we can actually move forward on things. Once we've got that serenity to accept the things we can't change, there are things we can always change. And finally, contentment or acceptance isn't just a good idea or an on and off switch. It's something that we have to practice daily. And I'm talking about practice like football practice, not a law practice. There used to be this rule in the Methodist Church that said you couldn't be a pastor if you were a practicing homosexual. And this guy on the board of ordained ministry said if they asked me if I was a practicing homosexual to tell them, are you talking about a law practice or a football practice? Because I think I'm pretty good at it. We have to practice as in the way we do it a little bit every day. The more we practice acceptance, the more we find those things that we can accept, the more it grows. Sure, we can't wake up every day and choose to practice acceptance and it automatically hit. But we can wake up every day and choose to practice acceptance, and then when we don't, we can bring ourselves back. It's like a muscle. I almost did a sports reference. It's like a muscle. The more you practice acceptance, the easier it becomes. The more you admit defeat, the more you can accept the fact, maybe I am an alcoholic. I was talking to someone this week that was trying a different 12-step program for the first time, and they said they walked in and they just felt like they were crawling out of their skin. It took practice for us to even be here today. It takes practice to show up for yourself in recovery. It takes practice to be there. And there's a lot of other things you can do. I was Googling ways to get better at acceptance. Let's face it, I was ChatGPTing ways to get better at acceptance this week. There was a list of like 100 things we can do. So if these 3 things don't work for you, just try whatever it is. Because I'll tell you one thing, if Paul can practice contentment in prison, we can be okay in Chicago in recovery, right? So for the next few minutes, we're going to listen to a song that was actually suggested by our guest storyteller, by Noah Kahn. It's Noah Kahn's one of my favorite people. And as we sit and as we meditate and as we think through what acceptance looks like in our lives, I just want to invite everyone to just breathe. Sit in whatever position feels the most comfortable, and just think about those places in your life that we need to accept in order to grow. So tonight we have every week is a very special guest storyteller, but this week we have someone who has been coming around for a little over a month or so, a little bit more. He was at our first gathering, and I'm really excited to hear his story and to connect with him further. Like I said, he's a man who normally holds things a little closer to his chest, so I'm excited to hear a little bit more about his story. So let's invite up Matt. Hey Matt, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to have you here. So first of all, Matt, just start off. I feel like this plant is a little more in our way than normal, right? we need Joe to start taking care of it. I don't even think I remember to water it. Anyways, Matt, just start off. Tell us a little bit about yourself, just real quick. A little bit about your recovery story and what brought you here today. Yeah.
Okay, my name is Matthew. I'm an alcoholic. I say that because I'm in Alcoholics Anonymous, not a requirement here, obviously. To qualify myself, I started drinking when I was 15 years old. My first treatment was when I was 21 years old. I had a very difficult time accepting the fact that I was gay. I struggled very much with that, and when I drank, I didn't feel any of that difference or pain associated with just feeling different. And that's not unique to gay or straight. That's true with most alcoholics and addicts. You know, we always, or the overcoming theme is that we feel different in some way, somehow. I've been to about 15 treatments since I was 21. I'm now 36. I've tried to get sober many times. And it wasn't that I didn't have an intention to stay sober. I wanted, when I was in rehab, I wanted to stay sober. But then a week out of rehab and it's pride and everyone's having fun, I'm you know,
I can get sober next week.
Yeah. I always thought I was missing out because culturally, I feel like in the LGBT community, a lot of our events are focused around alcohol and drugs. Ended up addicted to crystal meth and alcohol for the past 3 or 4 years. Primarily got bad the last year until I got sober, to the point where I was suicidal, and I was at a point where I couldn't imagine living anymore, and I couldn't even use anymore. Using and drinking wasn't taking away the paranoia or just the horrible feelings I was feeling, and I just wanted to die. So I curled up in a fetal position, and luckily got kind of rescued and brought to a hospital and started this journey.
That feels like acceptance a little bit right there, right? You accept, in that moment, you had to accept the fact that you were hopeless in defeating this thing alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then what happened from there?
So I went to the psych hospital. I was, I stayed there for 10 days. The psychiatrist did not have a good prognosis for me because I wouldn't get out of bed. I was detoxing from crystal meth and benzos and everything. And she, I wanted to go to Gateway. I've been to a lot of treatment centers, and because I refused to get out of bed or participate, she's like, no, I'm sending you to this program called Share. And I was just like, okay. You know, I just started saying, okay. I didn't have any answers. I didn't have anywhere to go. I had no options left. So I just started taking everyone's advice 100%, or suggestion. So I went to Share, And Share was a very strict, intense program. I didn't want to be there at first. First, I was like, I want to leave here and go back to Haymarket because it's like super chill there and I get to nap all day and blah, blah. But I'm really glad I went there. And then I transferred to Bonaventure, and I've maintained my sobriety there the entire time. I just graduated, and because of my history of relapse, I'm working the 12 steps. I'm on my 9th step with my sponsor. However, I just don't feel quite comfortable living alone yet. So I'm moving into another recovery home for the time being, just because I'm so tired of going through this. And as much as I believe that, like, you know, my higher power is keeping me sober, like, I want to take like every action I can to protect what I've built or what God's built through me.
Yeah, that feels like a big thing for acceptance, right? Because I know I've never personally lived in a sober house, but I imagine contentment doesn't come easy, right?
Yeah. So, sorry to interrupt,
No,
but
go ahead.
like, I feel like the most content in this past like year and a half with the rehabs and living in a little tiny room. Like, I don't make much money, but like I'm the most content I've been in my entire life.
Yeah.
And I don't I've gathered like some financial things, a little bit of like net worth, but nothing substantial. And
Hey,
yeah, I'm the happiest I've ever been.
For an addict, a net worth that's not way in the hole is probably
Right.
something that's
Yeah.
You should have seen
I
that
got-
bankruptcy at 6 months sober.
Yeah.
No, I mean, and I think that's kind of like what Paul was talking about in the passage from today, right? Like, I've had a lot and I was never happy, and now I just have a little bit and I'm happy. I mean, I'm hearing honesty, right? You were honest about where you were at for the first time. You weren't buying into the delusion that you could just have a few drinks and put it down, which is usually the start of a relapse, right? And so, do you have any like tips or advice or things for people who are struggling with acceptance? Because like, there's a reason I asked you for this topic, right? Because I noticed the contentment in a world that's not the world you would have built at 20 as your dream.
Yeah.
Right? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that is fair to say. I mean, I imagined myself like I had the highest hopes and dreams for myself that I was gonna be a doctor and, you know, make $400,000 a year and drive a G-Wagon and all sorts of like, you know.
Yeah, I watched MTV Cribs.
Yeah. Because like
So I wanted to be Mariah Carey in the heels on the treadmill, but we can unpack that later.
I did prior to like starting drinking heavily. I did really excel in school, so I thought that was gonna go somewhere. However, I'm sorry. Can you repeat the question?
I don't remember what it was.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it had to do.
Oh,
with
yeah, so, like-
how do you have this acceptance? Because I think that's something honestly I can learn from.
I have this acceptance because honestly, and maybe you can relate to this having been in prison. I was never actually locked up in like a jail or prison for more than a night. But like I know what it's like to be a prisoner of my own mind and my own be a prisoner of to others, like relying on others in order to survive, and that's just a horrible feeling.
I remember whenever I was homeless, I remember clear as day, and like I don't remember a lot from that time, but like I remember looking at people entering houses and just being like, I wish I had a key to a house.
Yeah.
You know, like I just
where
wish
you don't have to like tiptoe or eggshell or worry about like who the guy or girl or whoever you're staying with, like irritating them, and then you have to find somewhere else to live. And
Oh yeah, I agree with that. I think the prison in that period after prison and before I got sober was more desperate than the prison where there was a guard checking and make sure I didn't run away four times a day, right? Like the prison of our addiction is so just having that like autonomy over life, right? Like it feels liberating.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I'd consider like prison, like I didn't have, like I had to ask, like, and I hate asking people for money or like anything like that. Like I like to consider myself independent, but I'd have to ask like a guy for like $5 for like the L. And sometimes I'd have to hop it and I'm just like, this feels horrible. This like I can't like I get on the bus and start tapping my phone like there was money on it. I didn't have $2.50 for the bus.
Been there.
Like it's like
until they eventually wave you on.
Yeah. And that like that's how I got around. And as sad as that is, like that's the reality I fear going back to, and that's how I accept where I'm at today with such ease.
So one of my favorite things about doing this after the message is I totally had a whole thing on gratitude in my notes that didn't come out of my mouth, right? And that's where I'm hearing from you.
Yeah.
Like a practice in gratitude.
Yeah.
Like a practice in gratitude helps you stay rooted in being okay with wherever you're at, right? Like you remember where you came from. My mama used to always say, "Don't you remember? I don't know where you think you came from."
Yeah.
But a practice in gratitude sounds really help. And you're content. I hate whenever I have a topic and I just keep saying the words, so I apologize in advance. Is there anything that you're still navigating, or any areas that you're still growing in that regard, or? You don't have to answer it if you don't.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm currently like I'm working with a therapist on overcoming kind of this, the inability to accept me being gay was an issue, and it's I hate to admit that out loud, but it is something
naming a
I've
problem halfway
struggled.
to fixing it.
Yeah,
right.
It's something I've struggled with my entire life. I see a psychiatrist. I have a sponsor. I have people in my life who like I connect with on a regular basis who kind of like keep me stable and grounded and grateful.
Yeah.
You know,
So that was kind of that second thing that we talked about tonight, right? Like taking agency over what you can. And sometimes that agency is professional help.
Yeah.
Sometimes that agency is this, that, or whatever. So one last question. My clock flipped, so I have no clue how long we've been here. But one last question is if there's someone new in sobriety or maybe just starting out, or maybe they're a spiritual refugee or a loved one that's just kind of starting off on a spiritual journey. Because one thing we didn't touch on is you're a deeply faithful man, right?
Yes, I attend church every Sunday morning. I have a deep relationship with Jesus Christ. It's personal to me. It's not fundamentalist. You know, but
I went to church with Matt during the time period between Sunday morning congregations. I've never seen anyone more locked into a sermon. Well, except for maybe when Brandon Johnson was here, it was weird. But anyways, I've never seen anyone just like, he was eating it up. Yeah. You know, you go and you really, really thrive in there.
I mean, same with you. When you're teaching, I'm locked in.
Hell yeah. I'm just hoping I don't say anything that embarrasses me or others. So yeah, what's that one thing that you wish you would have known early in sobriety, right? Like, is there any like piece of advice or anything that you'd like people to carry with them out of this conversation?
Yeah, and I was thinking about this question. It's hard when you're newly sober, but what I like to think about is like, what do I really want for my life? Like, okay, if I continue using, where do I see myself in 10, 20 years? And maybe that's a weird way to look at it, but like I've been going to rehab since I was 21, and I was always told like, oh, get this while you're young. Well, now I'm 36. 20 years have passed, and you know, like people still say get it while you're young. But like seriously, like where what kind of life do you want for yourself? Because I've never, ever met an addict or an alcoholic practicing who's content or happy or joyous or free or they're always miserable in some aspect or just totally dependent on some outside force for their.
And it might not even be, might not even be the booze. It might be that they're worried about the clothes they're wearing.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's like this general package of traits that leads to alcoholism. Also leads.
I mean,
to just kind of a
alcoholism
miserable life.
isn't just the alcoholism is not just the substance. It's like my
It's an ism.
mental state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
awesome. Well, thank you very much, Matt. You did amazing.
Thank you.
You actually did do really good.
Thank you. Matt will be around. He always hangs out after. So if you have any questions or connection points, feel free to hit him up and chat. So here comes the time of night where we talk about generosity. So here at Free Recovery Community, we are building something, right? We're building towards hopefully eventually having a recovery hub for the north side of Chicago, a place where we can, there's the one in Denver, our partner organization has a coffee shop and they host sober open mic nights and sober comedy nights and 40 meetings a week. But it all starts here, and it all starts because of generosity from people in the room and the people that care deeply about people in the room. So if you feel free to give through that QR code, there's also a little cash box that should have been in the back that's not back there, but we'll grab it with a QR code to scan as well. So now it comes to the moment of the night where we share heartbreaks. So heartbreaks are our time just to trust the room with what's going on in life. And before we open it up to the room, we do have two things to be praying for from people in the room, or from people that are joining us live from, these are from LSSI Sober Living. So first of all, Jackie would like a general prayer. So just general prayers for Jackie. And Tim would like prayers as he navigates housing after treatment. So for a lot of us in recovery, man, that housing piece is hard. So we'll definitely be praying for you here in the room, Tim. And now, feel free to share your heartbreaks.
Hi, everybody. My name's Ed. Is this on? Can you hear me okay? So going in today, I don't know, Saturday's really hard for me. I find that when I come in here, a lot of times I have a lot of heartache. And I allowed myself, and I'm so glad we talk about acceptance today because I was not allowing myself to accept where I was in life today. I got this in my head that, oh gosh, at my point in life, I should, this should be a day off from my executive job and I should be in a big house. That's how I should be spending my Saturday. And instead, I'm sitting in a room in Sober Living waiting for a minimum wage background check to go through. And I'm like, this is unacceptable, right? This is not where I'm supposed to be. And I got myself into a real low point. And it's all about accepting, and I'm creating the heartache. I'm creating the heartbreaks in my life by not accepting my situation. So I just want to say everything, and even in what Matthew shared, I related so much to what Matthew shared. And his journey as well. So it's been great for me to come in here today. I'll leave feeling a lot better. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ed.
I'm sincere. So 3 days ago was my old partner's birthday. Next month will be 3 years of his death on the 15th. So yeah, I just want to acknowledge that because I haven't really acknowledged that until I thought about the month and thought about the time. Yeah, his birthday was 3 days ago on the 25th, and next month will be his 3 years of his death. So I just wanted to say that.
Absolutely. We'll be praying for you, sincere.
Christian, I'm currently in the long process of mourning. It takes a lot of self-compassion and self-respect to accept when someone that you love isn't the right person right now. And I'm currently going through that at the moment, realizing that someone that I deeply care for, I need to take a few steps back from for my sanity. It's love is weird, but Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, again, couple friends, couple people I love in my life are still in addiction, or I don't really know their whereabouts, and that breaks my heart.
Any other heartbreaks to share with the room? Okay, well, if you do have anything, maybe you just didn't feel comfortable sharing it, we have someone who's great to share that with. Martha would be happy to chat with you afterwards. She is really good at it. So feel free to meet with Martha. She'll be happy to pray with you afterwards. And so that comes to the end of our gathering. Thank you so much for everyone who came tonight. And just know the way this community grows is primarily through personal invitation. So if you had a good experience or you see potential here, invite your friends, bring them along. As this community continues to grow, we continue to have meaningful moments. So make sure to do that. And we will close, since we talked about the Serenity Prayer tonight, it makes sense for us to close with the Serenity Prayer, right? So if you'll join me. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Again, if it was your first time, fill out a Connect card. I'll be happy to take you to coffee. So.